Hey everybody, Kyle Goth here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel. I just saw the new Netflix film Rebel Ridge, directed by Jeremy Saulnier, and this is my first reaction. Overall, I liked the movie quite a bit. Full disclosure, I've been a fan of Saulnier's work for almost 20 years now, actually. I saw his first film, Murder Party. It was one of the first memories I had of actively looking out for a film online, ordering a copy, and having it sent to my home, even though I'd never seen it, just based on the title and the poster. And a coworker and I did that. We enjoyed the film, but I think the big hit for me with Saulnier's work is Green Room, which again kind of has a little place in my heart. It was the first press screening I ever went to was for Green Room. And I've been a fan of his work for almost 20 years since Murder Party came out. But I really think in this past 10 years, he's really picked up and figured out kind of that rhythm to what makes his work great. And I think he finds a way to do that with this film. Aaron Pierre is in the lead role here. I know he replaced John Boyega, who left due to some family concerns, or there's some rumors about some disagreements during the filmmaking, but I don't really know much about that. I will say that Aaron Pierre in the film is very good. I remember him from the film Foe last year, which I don't think was a very good movie, but it had some great performances in it, and I think he was pretty solid with the material. He was also in that movie Old. I kind of forgot that Aaron Pierre was the musical artist in that film? I think that's who he was in that film. He didn't get a lot to do in that movie, and so I kind of just I didn't realize it was him. He's facing off against Don Johnson. The film follows Pierre's character Terry, who is a former Marine that is basically got money to bail his cousin out of jail. It gets seized in a somewhat legal manner from some corrupt cops who just want to have his cash, basically. And so he goes toe-to-toe with the cops in an effort to try and get the money in order to free his cousin. The chief is Sandy, played by Don Johnson, who, again, I'm a big fan of. If you guys follow me for any amount of time, you know I really love Miami Vice. Don Johnson, I think he's a great villain. I think he's a great hero character when he needs to be. He fits in a lot of different roles, and I think, again, he got shoehorned because of that cop role that he played in Miami Vice and just didn't have much more than that for the rest of his career. And to kind of lately, I feel like maybe Django Unchained was the first time I felt okay, we're using Don Johnson again in some really interesting ways, and he's kind of played a villainous character a lot, but I like what he does here. Other than that, the other standouts for me, I think Emery Cohen is pretty solid. He was in the film The Bike Riders earlier this year, playing a very different character than he is now, and I think his range is very strong. I actually became aware of him in the film Brooklyn. And again, very different character than he was in this film. Almost unrecognizable to who he was in Brooklyn to who he is in this film. And I know that's the years that put on us, but he just looks so much different, and he has such a different kind of engagement level. I honestly didn't think this movie was ever going to come out, because I know that there was plans to shoot it in 2020. It got bumped because of COVID. Then he cast John Boyega, who dropped out. I know other people dropped out when the COVID thing happened, and then more people dropped out, and they had to kind of figure out a way to mishmash this whole film together. I'm surprised it is as good as it is. As far as negatives on the film, I do think that the second act has some kind of meandering in the plot. I think they spend a little bit too much time dialing down exactly what we as audience members kind of already know, and they're kind of repeating themselves a little bit with this mystery element. I think if the film had kind of tightened up that middle section and just been focused on the escalating tension between these two forces, I think that would have benefited it quite a bit. I don't think it's bad in that way. I just think that would have benefited the film, because Saulnier's direction keeps a really fantastic escalating tension all throughout. And this movie is 2 hours and 12 minutes, 2 hours 11, something like that. It's very tense, and it builds nicely the entire time, which is great. It's really hard to maintain a 2+ hour tension film. We had that with John Wick, which clocked in close to 3 hours, and the tension in that film, again, steadily built in a really fascinating way, but they also had some hills and valleys, whereas I feel like this film built the whole way across. So I was really impressed with this next turn from writer-director Jeremy Saulnier. My favorite film of his is still going to be Green Room, but I did quite enjoy Rebel Ridge, and it's definitely a film that I would seek out again in the future. I'd be interested in checking it out again. It was a lot of fun, and I would definitely recommend it to viewers looking for a tightly paced, well-executed thriller that has some pretty interesting views of corruption, pretty interesting tactics about getting around there. I think Saulnier finds some interesting ways to kind of minimally use plot to build the tension and let his kind of characters float through them. And yeah, he's successful again with this one. So definitely recommending Rebel Ridge. Go ahead and check it out and leave your comments down below here when you finish watching. Thank you so much for joining me for this first reaction. You can leave your thoughts, like and subscribe. Make sure that you check out goatfilmreviews.com for my many written reviews. You can find Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can find me personally at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. You can find my show Kyle and Nick on Film that I co-host with Nick Plotchuk from the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes of that show every single week. In fact, I think we're probably going to do an episode of Rebel Ridge. So go ahead and check it out down in the comments section or in the description of this video. You can also find the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance, which is I'm a member of, and they have other film critics reviews of Rebel Ridge as well as my own. Thank you so much for joining me for this video, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.